Hello everyone, Turbo here, and I'm here with my team breakdown for the NNDL. And the NNDL, as I haven't talked about this, is a draft I've been part of for 2 seasons now. And since a lot of my friends joined this season, I figured I might as well post it on YouTube. So that's what I'm doing here. I'm joining again as the Fryslân Furrets, because that was my team last time. I do still need to redo the logo, but I will do that in due time. In the meantime, I'm just going to talk a bit about the league. Because there are a few rules here. Of course, this is a net dex draft, so all Pokemon will be available except some Pokemon. There's a custom ban list which also includes certain abilities and stuff. When we come across them, I will talk about them. For Pokemon that are banned, they're mostly like the Ubers from past generations and this generation, so it doesn't really make a big difference for that. One thing that's very interesting in this rule is there's no Dynamaxing. However, there is Gigantamaxing. You can get a Gigantamax mon, and then that's allowed to Gigantamax, and nothing else is. We have no Z moves, which, of course, Z moves were very popular in Gen 7. Kinda overpowered, so we decided against having that. And one of the things we changed, which is a very common rule, is G-Maxes must hold a useless item. This is kind of like nerfing the G-Max mons. They must hold like a meal item or a Pokeball or something like that to limit what they can do. And that's also makes some G-Maxes really not as good as usual. So that's a really I like this rule personally. It really balances things well. And Megas must hold their Mega Stone. You can't put something else on your Mega and then run it as a normal one. That's just kind of to prevent you drafting something and then using it for something else. This was a point draft. We had 140 points. We were allowed to get any points from any price range as long as we had at least 9 months. I went a bit on the short end. I have 10 months, which one of those cost 1 point, but like I do have enough months, so it's not bad to go top heavy in this draft, I think. Anyway, I'm gonna talk about which mons I have now, and that brings me to my first mon of this draft, which is Mew. There were a lot of, this was like, I had 9th pick, so I was already saying to myself, alright, there was one tier for 20 points, I want something from there, but I'm gonna have to see what all is gone already, which almost everyone chose either their Mega or one of the 20 point mons first. So I was really curious what I was gonna get, and I had my eyes set on Mew because like from all the others there was like I said Mega and Melmetal and Rillaboom G-Max, stuff like that. But Mew is really interesting because it can do anything. And that might be a bit of an exaggeration, but like Mew is the Pokemon that learns moves from basically every type, and you can run so many. I believe it learns all TMs and TRs, so you can run so much different stuff with this, and that makes it so fun in draft because it's so hard to prepare for. It can run like special offense, defense, it can run hazard stack, it can do whatever I need it to do. And that was really interesting to me. Paired with those base 100 stats in everything, you can literally run it as whatever set you want. So I was kind of hoping for Mew, and then I got Mew, and it just kind of all fit together. And I'm really happy that I got Mew. Yeah, it's just like, it's a really solid mon, especially in draft. Now my next pick, this might seem a bit weird to some of you. I will swear by Comfy until the day I die. Comfy is amazing. And by this point, like, both Urshifus were picked, Dragapult was picked, and a lot of the really good fast mons were gone. And I was like, Comfey is one of my aces. It, of course, having triage with the training kiss can deal with a lot of the fast mons that Mew struggles with, which is really handy. Like, any dark type can get training kissed, and these two just kind of make an amazing duo. Now, I did hear from some other people that they were gonna get Convey just to keep it out of my hands. So I'm really happy I drafted it as early as I did, because this mon, people don't see it, but this is really amazing. Now, at this point, I didn't really have plan. Usually I plan for my drafts, and I didn't really have any plan this time except looking at the list and looking what was fun. And I saw Venusaur G-Max. Now, Venusaur G-Max gets G-Max Fine Lash, I believe. Yeah, G-Max Fine Lash. And it's a grass type move with, I believe, like 150 base power or 140 base power, which then sets a hazard on the other side for 5 turns, which deals 1/8 damage. Which, that paired with like Comfey, who can really benefit of Chip, that's huge. And not to mention, this gets Earth Power, so Max Wake instead of boosts. It gets Outrage, which I can use to lower attack with Max Wormwind. Max Ooze can boost my special attack. It gets both screens, so that's potentially really helpful. And one thing, this was tiered lower than Blastoise, but one thing that people don't realize is, yes, Blastoise gets Shell Smash, but Venusaur gets Chlorophyll, which means I can potentially pair this with Sun. Like, I can use my Mew to set up Sun, and then just have Venusaur sweep, which is really interesting. Again, it has to use a useless item, so that hinders it a bit. I can't run Life Orb, so that's annoying, but it's still like, even plus one thing is a lot of G-Max Pokemon, when they're outside of G-Max, are really dead weight, which Venusaur obviously isn't. Venusaur has like a really good stats overall, and it can, even without an item, can put in a lot of work. And it can sleep powder things and lead seed things, so it has a bit of a support role as well. And it's gonna be so much fun to use. I was mind blown that this wasn't gone. Charizard Mega X is one of the Pokemon I have never used in draft because it seemed too easy, which might sound weird, but like, I like prepping for my drafts and like that struggle to find the one thing you need. But Charizard Mega at this point was still available, and I was like, if there's any time I want to use this, it's now. Paired with Venusaur, this is like, because one of the things Charizard is weak to is, of course, Ground, which Venusaur covers, and Rock, which Venusaur covers, and Fairy, which Venusaur covers. And like, that just makes this Charizard really tough to deal with. Dragon gets covered by Comfey. And the thing is, I can use this early or late game to click buttons, and this opens the way up amazingly for Comfey. Like, with that base 130 attack and tough class, I can just click Flare Blitz and have Comfey come in afterwards and sweep. Plus, the three things Comfey doesn't hit are fire types, steel types, and poison types. All three of which get taken down by Earthquake or other ground coverage. And what does Charizard X get? Earthquake. I'm gonna use this to deal with the problems for Comfey and potentially just win. Like, a lot of even like grass type, water type mons get beat by Thunder Punch, which is a really powerful option. It has now Scorching Sands, which I'm probably not gonna run, but it's still a really interesting option. Iron Tail, Outrage, Power Up Punch, Flare Blitz. It of course has Dragon Dance, which is really good. This is just a powerhouse if it comes to Megas. So at this point I was like, I kind of had my eye on this mon. I needed an answer to like ghost type moves. That was one of the few things I didn't resist at this point. Fire I had covered with Charizard, which like that's just really easy answer. But Crocodile can be a really good mon for my team. Thanks to that Intimidate, I can intimidate something and then get in like Mew or Charizard and set up, which that's huge. With like, of course, Charizard and Mew both having decent defenses, that Intimidate can actually really matter. Besides, Crocodile is really good now since Pursuit is unbanned. Now Pursuit, of course, in Gen 8 isn't allowed anymore, but it can really help me versus some like Psychic types. I can trap them with Pursuit, and since Crocodile has such good speed, a lot of the times I will outspeed and get that Pursuit off, even if they stay in. So that's really helpful. It gets Rocks, which is really nice. Fire Fang could potentially come in really handy. One of the things it got now is Lash Out, which doubles in power. It's a 75 base attack, physical attack, which doubles in power if a stat gets started. So potentially, if they decide to defork or bring in an Intimidator, I can do a lot of damage. It can run Taunt too to snuff out lead hazards, which is really helpful. So all in all, this was just Smackdown can potentially come in helpful versus like flying types. So a really good pick. And like, it's just like, it's a solid mon. It's not an amazing mon. This is just solid. Bringing me to my next mon. Now at this point I really wanted a bulky water, but I also wanted a normal type, which might sound weird that you want a normal type, but I decided to go further with the wildcard factor that Mew has and bring in Silvally. Now Silvally, of course, with the RKS system can bring the drives and, well, not the drives but like the chips, and it can change typing, and that's the memories. Yes, it can change typing, which means I can do whatever I want with this. I can make this whatever type I need coverage for. I can make it a ground type if I'm weak to electric. I can make it flying type if I'm weak to ground. I can make it a bulky water. It gets Parting Shot, it gets Defog, it gets Iron Defense. Like, there's so much you can do with this. It gets Thunder Wave, which is really helpful for my mediocre speed tip. This is just like a wild card to the max. Because of that type changing, I can still, like, even if my type changes, I can run coverage, really good coverage. I believe this even learns pledges, which is kind of cool. I'm kind of sad it's not doubles, because then I could have used one of my starters with the pledge with Sylvelli, which would have been kind of fun. But still, Sylvelli is gonna be a really big help because of that coverage and that unpredictability. So at this point, I was like, alright, so what do I need now? I need an answer to ground. I want a steel type to finish the fairy dragon steel core. So I went with Corviknight, and I was kind of surprised it's still here, because Corviknight is kind of really useful. It of course is a defogger, which that on itself is really nice, but it has taunt, it has tailwind, it gets both streams. It can really easily run defensive support. Fake tears if I wanted. Like, and then it can pair it with like Iron Defense, Power Trip would be really cool. Body Press is really helpful. It gets bulk up with like flying type moves, which is useful. It's just like it falls in the crocodile range. It's not an amazing move, but for what it is, it's really solid. And like Mirror Armor, of course, being a great help for Intimidators and G-Max moves. Say for instance, somebody hits me with a Max Wormwind, their own attack gets lowered, which is really helpful. Pressure can help, a nerf can shut down some sets. So all in all, like, it's a pretty solid one. And the typing of course is amazing, only being weak to fire and electric, which I both have covered. So it's gonna be really interesting to use this. Now at this point I was kind of like lost for what to pick next, and I was looking through the list of what was left, and I saw Buzzwole. All of the other higher tiered Ultra Boosts were gone, but this is a one I have never used in the... I might have used it like once in an OU, but I barely used this thing at all. And it just kind of, like, it covers pretty well because I didn't have a fighting or a bug type. And it just seems so interesting to use with the Beast Boost, of course, boosting attack. We have dual coverage, Drain Punch Leech Light. But a lot of coverage outside of that. Earthquake, Poison Jab, Thunder Punch. It gets boost, which it can potentially pair with like Bulk Bub. It's a really interesting move. Plus that 139 defense plus good HP means it can take earthquakes and knockoffs and things it resists. It can take really well, and that's just something I really like in this one. Is I can use it as a dark answer, I can use it as a ground answer, I can use it as a fighting answer, and the thing is, I just get a lot of free switches from this. Because I can hit something hard, I can taunt things if necessary, I can roost and outlive things, I can eat berries with Bug Bite. If I get a Fell Stinger off, that I'm going to be so hype. But like, yeah, this is just like, this really interested me to use, and I really hope it's gonna put in a lot of work. I'm not sure, but it's gonna be fun to try to fit in the team. This was actually like, this is I picked Blastoise as a bulky water. At this point I was looking at water types because Sylvelli only goes so far, plus I kind of want to use it for other types as well. I don't want to have to rely on it to be a water type. So I went with Blastoise, and this is kind of an interesting one. This was suggested to me by some of the members of the draft did a podcast talking about our draft so far. We were at like turn 6, I believe, and they said if he gets Blastoise, I'm gonna lose it. And at first I was like, yeah, well, I'm not gonna get Blastoise. But Blastoise has actually, like, for a normal, but it has good stats. It gets Shell Smash. It's not like Mega Blastoise, which is insane, but it gets Shell Smash, which makes it very good. It can hold items unlike G-Max Blastoise. And one thing to notice is it finishes off my core of Fire, Water, Grass with all 3 Kanto starters, which that was just really funny to me. Like, I got Blastoise, Venusaur, and Charizard, which that's just kind of a power move to have all 3 of those. But like, if Blastoise on its own is not even bad, it gets Flip Turn now, which is really helpful because if a Grass type comes in, I can Flip Turn out into my Charizard and set up a Dragon Dance. Stuff like that is really good. It has Weather Ball, which with Sunny Day potentially could be really cool. Yan is a helpful one. One of the things that's really helpful, it gets Rapid Spin. It's a form of hazard removal that I didn't like. I had Defog before on like 4 of my mons, but Rapid Spin is such a more reliable source of hazard removal, and it makes him so much better. Plus, one thing that the other Blastoise can't is I can run Sash with Shell Smash and then just set up for free and just do a lot of damage. Like, it might not have like the 135 that Mega Blastoise has in special attack, but 85 special attack isn't bad. And with its lowered stat speed being 78, that's still gonna be enough to outspeed the majority of mons. So I was originally planning to draft like Snorlax or Vaporeon, which like both also are solid mons, but this just kind of spoke to me, and it's gonna be fun to use. The abilities don't really matter on this one. I doubt Rain Dish is gonna come into effect, except for just like the one guy that drafted Rain. I can bring Rain Dish and just kind of live from that. So this is just like this was a surprise pick to me, but it's really fun. And how could I not? At this point I had 3 points left. I was looking to the low end of the tier list, and I saw Furrets for 1 point, and he's the mascot. So how couldn't I? I'm probably not even gonna bring him, but just the fact that he's on my team makes me really happy. It does actually get Pursuit, which is kind of a big deal. Because of 90 speed. 90 speed isn't bad. It outspeeds a lot of psychic types. I can Pursuit trap those. I can knock off, which is kind of useful. Plus, one thing that Furret kind of just excels at is coverage. Furret gets a lot of coverage attacks, which like doesn't seem like a lot, but it can really put in a lot of work. It can, besides it can set up Sunny Day, Rain Dance. It can set up Weather for me, which is kind of useful. It can Whirlpool. I don't know why it can Whirlpool, but it can Whirlpool. It's gonna be like, I don't see it coming too often, but I just couldn't not draft it. He's my boy, and he needed to be here. Anyway, that's it for the draft, the team breakdown. I'm kind of really happy with what I've drafted. It's not as synergized as my last season. My last season I had like Sticky Webs, Obstagoon plus Priority in Scizor and Comfey, which that worked really well. But this there's just a lot of powerful mods, and that's also gonna be a lot of fun to use. Mew is gonna be insane to use. The Comfey is gonna put in work like normal. It's like I'm really looking forward to this season. I'm gonna have to look at how the rest of the draft goes. If there's any, there's a few teams right now that look really scary. There's one that I know looks really scary to the rest, but not to me because of Convey. So anyway, I think I'm gonna leave that there. I'm also gonna link the podcast I talked about earlier in the description because it talks about all the teams, which is really useful to get an overview. And I'm gonna leave it here, and I'm gonna be here hopefully with in a while the first episode of the NNDL, and I don't know who we're facing yet, but it's gonna be a lot of fun. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you next time.